Hello, Blenders, and welcome to episode number 252 of ReelBlend, a podcast that just had its Star Wars movie shelved by Lucasfilm. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully, eventually, we'll come back around. On this week's show, our final Oscars predictions. Scream 6 hits theaters, and friends of the show, the filmmaking trio Radio Silence, is going to return to discuss the film in a spoiler-free conversation. My name is Sean O'Connell. I'm the managing editor here at Cinema Blend, joined as always by the guys, starting with Kevin McCarthy of Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. Mr. McCarthy, how are you, sir?
Sean, good to see you. Jacob, Gabriel. Are you referring to the Patty Jenkins news that just came out?
Yes. So the joke is because there was a Variety report, nothing confirmed by Lucasfilm. And so I assume we'll probably talk about this in a later episode if they come out with something. But the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron and the Kevin Feige Star Wars project seem to be shelved with a potential Taika Waititi movies still moving forward.
That makes me sad because I would like to see. I'd rather see Patty Jenkins's Star Wars movie than Taika Waititi's personally. That's just me.
You know, Sean, my sources, my very secret sources tell me that they had to shelve Kevin Feige's picture because he kept wanting to put the Hulk in it. And they were like, oh, it's the wrong universe, sir. We can't allow you to do that.
Right. The Quantumania was actually the Star Wars film that he made. That movie was such a Star Wars movie. Yeah.
Wasn't that far off. Also joining us as well, Jake Hamilton of Fox 32 in Chicago. I didn't realize it was a white shirt day, guys. Thank you.
You didn't get the memo? Well, if you just take that sweatshirt off
underneath. Yeah, that's true. I do.
This is an opportunity for you to do a sexy take off the sweater slow-mo video.
Let me tell you.
We're trying to get the views up, baby.
Anything that involves me taking anything off eliminates the term sexy. Housekeeping. Hello, Gabe. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Hello, Afterthought.
Hello, Afterthought. Gabe is going to be moving us along quickly because we have a lot of material, a ton of material to get to this week, including the Oscar predictions, which is going to take a lot of time. But we know that that's an important episode and segment each year for the real ones who love listening, or also potentially watching us on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/ReelBlend podcast, you can get a visual element of the show. We are inching closer and closer to 12,000 subscribers.
I feel like the numbers have been escalating quickly lately.
It's doing well. Yes.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you to all of you guys who tune in, whether it's Friday or any day of the week that you want to go back and rewatch ReelBlend and check us out. We appreciate you guys doing that. For our audio listeners, if you want to join us, go to the description down below to also find out how you can get ReelBlend Premium. The premium episodes drop on Monday. A premium subscription gets you an ad-free version of the show, and then you get a newsletter from me. And I'm giving you guys a newsletter this week, and I don't know what it's about. I want to let everybody know as well, too, that earlier this week, we dropped a bonus episode. Bonus episodes are for everybody. You don't have to be a premium subscriber if you want to get it. But this is the co-directors of 65, Beck and Woods. Really good guys who have a movie coming to the theaters with Adam Driver.
AKA the Boring Brothers.
The Boring yes.
Fans of the show.
Fans of the show. Also, Boring Brothers named by themselves, not us naming them the Boring Brothers.
If they
that joke will make sense when you hear it. Yeah.
If they asked us, we'd have to let them take the real ones if that's what they decided, right? We'd be like, well, use it. It's yours.
Oh, without a doubt. Beck and Woods is pretty good. Sounds like Breckin Meyer, though. A little bit too much like Breckin Meyer.
I literally was just about to say that.
That does.
Why we do a show together.
But my mind did go to Breckin Meyer for some weird reason. Yeah.
Of course.
Road trip, baby.
Of course.
Right. That's Breckin Meyer, right?
Yeah. I think so. So please go check out the bonus episode with those guys and go see 65 this week. I know that it's Scream weekend and everybody's going to be back in the theaters for that and getting ready for Shazam, but that movie
sounds like it's a great double feature. You guys will be reviewing it later in the show, but that might be a good double feature.
Also, we will.
Can we just give a quick shout out to Michael B. Jordan for $100 million worldwide opening for Creed 3? I mean, that is insane. Like for a theatrical, for, you know, where we are right now in the theatrical experience, you know, with the pandemic and everything, for a film like that to do $100 million worldwide in its opening weekend I think that's just insane. So
very
congrats
impressive.
to that. Yeah.
Very, very impressive. All right. So let's get to Scream, which we also anticipate is going to be really big. Another franchise. Guys, so many sequels this month. March is loaded with sequels. John Wick 4, Scream 6, Creed 3, as we mentioned, Shazam, which is a sequel, D&D, which isn't a sequel, but is a franchise or feels like the start of a franchise. But these guys are responsible for the new Scream film, the previous 2 Scream films, essentially 5 and 6, the reboot, and then they're taking the show on the road to New York City. And the last time we had the Radio Silence guys on the show, they were a ton of fun to talk to. Really enjoyed catching up with them again, and I don't want to delay that any longer. So without further ado, the team that calls itself Radio Silence and not the Boring Brothers, talking Scream 6 on the ReelBlend podcast.
It's an honor to have the Radio Silence team back on the show. Congratulations to you. And obviously, we're big fans of your work, big fans of what you've been bringing to this franchise. And, as kids who grew up on these movies, to see kind of the legacy continued in such a beautiful way. I feel like Wes Craven would be so proud of these films that you guys have done. I have to say, first of all, before I get to my first question, thank you for putting a Denzel Curry track in your movie, because that's one of my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that is a part of the process that we feel like doesn't get talked about enough. Like we're kids of the 90s, 80s, 90s, like soundtrack movies were such a huge thing for us. A lot of time and energy goes into music.
I mean, his album,
that Denzel Curry song, Walkin', that was like the minute we heard it, we're like, oh, this would be good in the movie because of that creepy, like vocal bit. Just
great song.
Have you seen the video that he's done, like with the Tarantino homage? It's almost like a Django Unchained homage. The video for Walkin'. Oh, it is. That album is one of the best hip hop. I'm a big hip hop head, and that was one of my favorite albums I heard last year. So I was like, hell yes, this is Walkin' in the theater. All right, so I got to start off. The trailer for this film first came out. One of the first things that hit me mentally was thinking about the 8th Jason film, or Friday the 13th, and Jason Takes Manhattan. And weirdly enough, it's actually a film that I genuinely love. I think it's an underrated movie in the Friday the 13th franchise. And so in your film, we see like a clip of it on the TV, which I absolutely loved. And I wanted to ask just your opinion on that film and kind of what that movie meant to you growing up, the 8th Jason, but also maybe what you learned from that movie, seeing Jason in New York, and kind of maybe how that helped you design how Ghostface would operate in the city.
The first thing I think we probably all thought when we found out that this one was set in New York, when Guy and Jamie wrote the script, was, of course, Jason Takes Manhattan.
It was an alt title, like we were trying on alt titles.
Yeah, it's like Ghostface Manhattan. Of course,
like a joke.
And it's like it was fun to play with that. I know a lot of people give that movie shit because a lot of it's on a boat, whatever. But like, it's still doing the thing. It still is taking Jason to Manhattan. And we can't speak to where Guy and Jamie came up with the idea. I mean, we should talk to them and get that answer. But yeah, I think it definitely influenced the movie because that was the first slasher for us that did it.
Yeah. And we definitely didn't want to do the boat thing in ours.
So. Well, we wanted to.
Yeah.
We're going to Ghostface on a boat for an hour and a half.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because the joke amongst the three of us was, can't wait to see Ghostface on a boat for an hour.
But I think that movie, the other part of that question, like, what did we learn from that movie? I think for us, we wanted to make sure that if we were going to set it in New York, that it was really consequential that it was in New York, that all of the set pieces felt really specific to New York, and that they could only play out the way they play out because of the city that we're in. And also fans, obviously, of Jason Takes Manhattan, but there's very little of Jason in Manhattan. And I think for us, it was just like, let's do that. Let's steer fully into what it would look like to not just have Ghostface in an apartment in New York, which happens, but in the bodega, in the streets, in an alleyway, in a subway, like really, really make the feel consequential.
No, but I mean, in New York, right? It's not just like the greatest hits in New York. So it's not like all the landmarks and everything you see. It's the part of LA, or a part of New York that you actually live in.
But I am glad you brought that up, Chad, because I wanted to mention that, like, when you guys were having the conversations, how close did you get to, all right, we got to put, Ghostface, we got to at least try Ghostface in Times Square, or, Ghostface at the top of the Statue of Liberty? Were there ever any conversations like those?
It's weirdly never any, like, nothing was really designed for those locations. I think in part because we just wanted it to feel really grounded. Mm-hmm. We wanted it to feel like these, the core four have moved to New York to move on, to live their lives. They're not tourists in that city. They are trying to leave their old lives behind. And for us, like Chad said, it felt like going to the more pedestrian, everyday places in New York was the most grounded and interesting choice for the story.
Filming would have been horrible too.
Yeah, all of those monuments cleared, like by the arc, and it's like there's just the clearances alone is crazy for those locations.
I'm sure.
Guys, I'm going to start out with a big question without getting into spoilers or anything, but I want to talk about what the rules are on the day on set whenever you guys are going to shoot the killer reveal. Is it a situation where it's as few crew members as possible? Is it a situation where everyone leaves their phones at the door? Like, what are the rules on set for the killer reveal days compared to every other normal day on set while you're filming?
I mean, I think at that point, we trust everybody in the crew. So it's just another day of shooting.
You're a more trusting person than I am.
I think one of the biggest days and the most fun days are the killer reveals when we're doing the costumes and we're letting the actors know, oh, we have one more thing for you to try on.
Yeah, we do a real Columbo one.
Right. and we bring out the robe and the mask and they're like, no way.
Yeah,
is that how you do it?
Yeah, you can't audition people and telling them like who the killer is, right? Because then you're effectively just declaring to the town, like, this is what happens in the next Scream movie. So you have to. We had multiple actors read Amber's monologue from 5, just so we could sort of learn how many gears they had, like what their range was performance wise, and also kind of throw people off the scent of who is or isn't the killer.
Wow, that's really
or is this a spoiler? Are we?
This is the
non-spoiler.
Okay,
non-spoiler. Yeah, we're hoping
actors who have great killer reads who are not the killer.
Right.
That hopefully someday we can share because there are some great ones.
Well, it's our hope that they told us we'll maybe get you guys like later on this week, and then we can do a full-on separate episode deep dive.
Awesome.
That would be great.
And we're going to bring that up because now I'm curious as to who had the best killer read that wasn't the killer.
Yeah. I want to say though that the crew is really respectful. Like it's one of the things, and I think part of that just develops over the course of prep. But the people that we've had the privilege of working on these movies with, they love and covet the franchise the way we do. I think it's one of the things that's been so surprising to us is just how far-reaching the Scream movies are, and so people really understand and appreciate how secretive you have to be. We've been really fortunate to find and work with people that care as much as we do.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
There's a thematic in this film. I won't go into spoilers, but where movie props are a big kind of theme in the film. And I would imagine this is a question maybe you've been asked, if not, but is there one movie prop for each of you that would be a dream prop to have in your home? And it's not something from your films or your work. It just could be this thing from this movie. Like, I mean, I have a fake T2 arm behind me, but I would love to have the real Terminator 2 arm in my house. That'd be so insane. So if each of you were to think of like your favorite movie prop and you could have it, you could choose one and get it, what would it be?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I think mine would be the DeLorean. I want the time machine. Yeah,
a big one. I love it. Full on car.
I like it.
Oh, the house from Glass Onion is that?
The DeLorean. He puts the DeLorean.
I've been dreaming too small. Like I was like, oh, like Indy's hat. And you guys are going house and car. I got to dream bigger.
Right. And then I'd have a lightsaber in the trunk. So just to have
I think Indy's whip would be a cool one. Indiana Jones whip would be
that's a great one
from Raiders.
The soundboard from Pump Up the Volume would be really fun, just to kind of like a little.
Oh, now you got me thinking about the piano from Big. You have that. You walk into your apartment. It's just the keys and like it steps on it. And actually,
yeah, cool.
That'd be amazing.
And then guys, scales too. That's the other one I'd want. The
One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
The ship.
Guys, the case that One-Eyed Willie's ship is in.
All of
Yeah, guys, Portland. I just want
Oregon.
If we're going down this path, I want the spinning hallway from Inception that they did the 2001 homage to. Just put that in my house, or the plane from Tenet
in that spinning hallway.
Guys, one of the other themes in addition that gets explored, and I'm curious to get your insight into how you guys wanted to touch on it, is PTSD and how different people process what they had just been through. And I think it was really refreshing to see certain characters, this is fun to dance around, who very much wanted to move on, and very much were like, I'm not going to make that my past anymore. And then others that responded to the events of Scream as very much like, that's become my personality now, and I'm going to, put the walls up and be really cautious and secure. As you guys were getting into the development of characters and this emphasis on the core four, which I think is really fantastic. And I told you guys earlier in the TV show that like they mean a lot to me now. I'm super invested in their story. And like, what were some of your thought process about like how you're going to address PTSD and how it affects these characters in particular?
I think it was one of the benefits of, the pace was so crazy with this movie, but I think that one of the byproducts of that is that you're revisiting those characters right on the heels of the events of the last movie. So they're all at a place where it's still really messy for them. They're still trying to figure out why they feel the way they do, how to move on, and everyone's kind of dealing with it differently. And that for us was just a really nice byproduct of the stories having such close proximity to one another, and really set the table for, we think, just like the juiciest, kind of most conflicted relationships within that core four. It's one of the things that I think we feel really proud of, and are proud of the cast for nuancing all of that in a way that feels so connected and personal, and really is the backbone of the movie in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I don't know if you saw the internet after, was it the first trailer dropped, in which everyone collectively lost their shit when we saw Ghostface with a shotgun, because after 25 years we all kind of paused and went, can Ghostface have a shotgun? And then we all went, well, I guess he can. Was there a conversation where you guys had to pause and go like, can Ghostface use a shotgun? Like, can we do that?
Yeah, we had that reaction when we were reading the script, and then it was immediately followed by, I mean, the thing we keep saying is we had can we do that? Oh, we have to do that. Like it's that kind of thing that sort of dictates a lot of the way we work. But yeah, we had the same exact reaction when we read it.
It also just felt like for us, the moment in the movie where if you're on board, like, we got you. And if you're not, then that's fine. But like that, it just sort of declares like the movie is going to just get more crazy from here on out. So buckle up. Like if that's your kind of like end of the first act attack, then all bets are off.
And it also felt like that was the byproduct of we were talking about like being in New York. That was a byproduct of being in New York. Like in theory, there would be other people around the city of New York with weapons. And it's not necessarily like Ghostface is walking, that's his weapon of choice. He's just taking advantage of the circumstance he's in, and he's never been in this circumstance like New York before.
Right. Yeah. No, he's very resourceful. Either a garage door or a shotgun.
Yeah. Oh, Tatum. Rest in peace, Tatum.
I want to give you guys props, by the way, before I ask my question, because the sound design in that shotgun scene was insane. Yes. Like I was sitting in that theater, and just the sound of the shell casing after the bullet goes off, like that was some of the most incredible sound design. Just glass, the different things they were hitting in the store, like that. Whoever edited your sound for that, just tell them they did a phenomenal job. It was incredible, immersive. I wanted to ask you this because I think one of the brilliant things about the Scream films and kind of what you guys have done is leading up to a kill and how you block a sequence, how you shoot the sequence, what doors open, what we as an audience psychologically are thinking about. They're behind that door or they're behind that person. I'm just curious how much conversation goes into the angles, the lenses, and the decisions of those shots leading up to someone being killed. Because to me, there's got to be an art form as to how you build that, because when someone's opening a set of doors, there's a couple options you have as an audience member. You go, oh, they're going to be behind them after the door closes. They're going to be inside that doorway. But there's something, even with the train sequence, there's a claustrophobic aspect to the way you shoot that. And I just wanted to know, what decisions go into those lenses and camera choices and blocking to make us not know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's endless. I think that's like the hard work that you have to do before you show up. It's and it's essential. I mean, every sequence in the movie, everything is shot listed and blocked before we set foot on the set. And then of course we introduce the cast into that mix, and they always have really great suggestions. So we allow for a certain amount of wiggle room just so that it can feel like people are approaching it in a way that's naturalistic and feels like they can sort of own what the physicality of those scenes are. But in terms of lens choices, all of that, I mean, we really plan all of that out. And I think you have to, so that things don't feel repetitive. I think a big part of what we love about these movies is that, you know, the tension can feel the same, but the way that it resolves, the way that you're, you know, like you said, you're staring at that door and then the scare comes from you just want to make sure that you're not hitting the same note every time. And you have to plan things out so that you're not, because it's really in the absence of planning, it'd be really easy to sort of default just to the tropes that we're all familiar with. And I think for us, it's really designing those sequences is about making them surprising to us as creators. And hopefully then we know, you know, we'll surprise the audience as well.
Can you give an example though of the decision process that goes into that? Like I don't know how, maybe we can go back to A Kill from 5, because I'm just curious, like how you design it, how you know, because as an audience, I'm thinking steps ahead of the moment, right? But you somehow subvert everything I think, and it's almost like a magic trick.
It's, I think a lot of it, it's kind of what Tyler was just saying about just doing it again and again and again. So we've read the script 50,000 times. We've debated every single version of it 50,000 times, so that and we're aware that you're going to be ahead of it. You know, we believe very strongly that the audience is incredibly smart, and that we have to use that to our advantage to hopefully make an enjoyable experience for you by knowing what you know, knowing that you're probably going to lean here, and then going, okay, so if they're going to be there, and you're thinking about it in real time. We've had months to get through, you know, make sure it works, go back, argue it out, and then try again. So it's an ongoing process. I mean,
and I think the biggest challenge is to make it feel inevitable but surprising, right? Like there's sort of the intersection of those two things is like the West kill in 5 is a great example of being aware that trope of the door,
a boy in his door,
is such a thing, and so the only way for us to then make it fresh is to make sort of a joke out of that trope, not once or twice or 3 times, but 4 times, then have it not actually happen with Ghostface coming from behind the door, but standing in the room behind you. Like it's just being aware of and like Matt said, using what we think is the audience intelligence against them.
It's smart. You treat it with respect. You respect the audience, which I love.
Yeah.
You know us well enough.
The audience is the smartest audience.
There's one that I think I'm just gonna call it like a Rear Window homage almost, where someone is looking at from one place into another place. That was the one where I was like, oh, good job, guys. That's really that was super effective. So you guys do have an unenviable task for the first time of telling a Scream movie without Sydney. And I just want to know from this perspective of what Sydney's role might have been in the narrative. Did you ever get to that? Did it get that far where Sydney was an important character? You guys had to sort of rework how Sydney was treated, or did all this stuff happen early enough in the process that it didn't really affect the story you were trying to tell? What happened there?
Yeah, at what point was that?
It's pretty early. It was early.
Yeah, and we had of course talked about the ways that Sid could be involved, and it for us, our job there was to just make the movie the best we could make this movie, and we love Neve dearly, and we love Sydney, and hopefully there's another Sydney movie down the road. Who knows? But and so when we were on set, it was just like, okay, this is what we're working with. How can we hopefully make this audience care about these characters as much as Wes and Kevin made us care about Sydney and Gail and Dewey, and really that's what we felt like our job was on this one.
This is going to be maybe a random question, but one of my favorite horror films of all time is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This idea of what if Freddy Krueger went after the actors who made A Nightmare on Elm Street? Right. Would you guys ever do a New Nightmare treatment on Scream, where what if a killer went after Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox and David Arquette?
I mean, it'd be fun.
And if it happens, do I get an associate producer credit on it?
Basically, stab. Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. All right, I do want to touch on really quick. You guys, the film touches briefly on one of the most popular fan theories in all of Scream, which is Stu alive? The TV falls on his head. We never see the body taken place. We never seen it taken to the morgue or anything. And the film does a nice wink to that. As fans of this series, do you guys have an opinion one way or the other?
Yes.
Damn it, I asked a yes or no question. Journalism 101, I feel. Okay, let me rephrase. What is your opinion on the Stu fan theory?
Damn it. Yeah. I mean, we like having fun with it. That's, I think pretty self-evident in the two movies we've made where we've kind of, poked that bear a little bit.
Yeah. Does Matthew Lillard want to come back?
Going debate of it. I think that's just like always fun to think creatively. Like, is he dead? Or not? Like, or how does it, you can bring back.
Look, we brought Billy back as a hallucination, guys. Anything is fucking possible.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I always love like the inside of kind of like movie making and kind of things. And one of the things I've always found fascinating over the years is phone numbers in movies. And there's a shot, and I could have been wrong. I saw it quickly where we're on an actual like house phone, and I thought I saw 707-139, and I was trying to figure out the rest of the number. Generally speaking, in films, it's 555-5555, whatever it is. Is that number have any significance? Because like generally in movies, you see a 555, and I just wondered, is there any significance to that? Am I just overthinking that? And I'm just curious what that meant.
Well, the 707 is the area code from that Northern California area. So we used it in the last two movies because we were just like, well, let's put in the real world. Like, let's, place it up there. And
they're all significant though. All the numerology.
But it's really the last four of all of them. If you pay, those all have some. We put thought into every single phone number. 139. This is just a fun fact to share because we just learned it on Screen 5. Yeah, it's the new 555. You can do. It's like 135.
You can do a real area code,
right? Real area code, but those three, those three can be different.
Oh, that's funny.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
So can I ask what the four are in that scene and what it means? Just because I wrote down 707-139.
What it is. It's maybe the release.
Yeah, it might be the release of
last. Yes, house on the left.
Can't
remember. There's a Google Doc of like anytime a sort of number that's going to pop up in the movie. We have a list of things like little Easter eggs that we like.
That's amazing.
I didn't know that 139 was the new 555. I'm like geeking out, man. My whole life.
Great news for us though, because we can make it feel like those numbers are more part of the world, right? There's always a little bit of you suspend disbelief when you see a 555, and it's just nice to have it feel like it's more in the reality of our world.
That's what it did for me. I was like, that's cool.
Because I know you guys have fun with audio cues and playing around. I can figure out how to ask this.
This is a hard junket to do.
It's really hard. There's a phone call date in the opening scene. And I'm curious if the person that the girl is speaking with is the same person that we meet later.
Dude,
good question.
It is the answer to that is far more hilarious than you could ever imagine, and we cannot tell you.
No, come on!
Can we do it in the spoiler Zoom in a couple days?
Sure, I guess I'll remember to ask that question.
Wait, now I kind of want to hear it, and we'll just hold it.
No. We'll figure. We'll get to it later. We got to keep these guys' trust at this point.
Damn it.
All right, let me pivot. Is this honestly the first time that Gail got a phone call scene in the franchise?
Yeah, it is.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah, Jake and I were arguing over it
because I was like, no, there's no way, and then I kind of paused and I was like trying to remember one, and I couldn't. But I could not believe that she's never gotten a phone call.
That's so cool.
So the importance of filming on that day. Can you just talk about like Courtney's a legacy character and giving her something that's so significant to the franchise?
I mean, I think that there was this energy around it, right? Because we knew that we were doing something that I think we as fans have always same sort of thing. Like, wait, that hasn't happened, I think the significance of it was amplified because we just knew how important it was. And then we actually had Roger call in and do a good portion of that call with Courtney, which is, that's not, of course, new to the franchise. That Roger has been a part of all of the movies, the live read, live performance. And it was just really special. It felt like we closed a loop that had been left open for a really long time. And Roger's also he doesn't break character. Like it is when he calls in, if you grab the phone, you have to prepare yourself for a weird experience.
Oh, by the way, we were waiting for our press screening to start, and they had the QR code of have Ghostface call you kind of thing. And I have a teenager who's a smartass, and he did it for his grandma. He did it for. So I'm waiting to hear back from her. I haven't heard whether she got the call or not. But
I learned that in the absence of them answering, Ghostface will leave a voicemail.
Yeah, good.
I got one the other day.
I was just so happy that he was immediately like, I'm gonna have Ghostface call grandma.
Oh my. Guys, there's in the trailer we see it as well. The room full of memorabilia that is from over the past 5 films, and any fan of the series can just sit there and scan the entire frame and pick out costumes and props and moments. Were any of those actual like props from the original films, or were they recreations for you guys?
They were all recreations. Unless there were any from
There's maybe
5.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they were all recreations. And just done incredibly well, painstakingly well. Like you could put them side by side with the real thing and probably would never know.
But too, in the sense that like where, the person that that manufactured or designed, the costume that Rose McGowan wears as Tatum, and
that's the one that kind of stood out to me. Like, oh my God, even that's
actually from the designer. So it's a replica, but it is an exact duplicate of
by the same person.
Yeah. So there was a real just painstaking level of detail, because it has to feel that genuine, and the amount of aging, and it really, everyone worked so hard for that to appear the way that it appears.
I mean, it took them almost a week just to do, or more, to do the Stu Macher robe, because they ended up stitching in that design into the fabric to make sure that the recreation was just as authentic to the original as possible.
So cool.
It was incredible work on the entire.
I don't know why, but like the one that gave me the most chills was Drew Barrymore's boyfriend's Letterman jacket and the duct tape that went around his mouth. I don't know why, but something about that one just made me go like, oh, because you just picture him like duct taped to that chair, like right outside of her window, and it just that one disturbed me the most. I don't know why.
Because it's disturbing, dude.
Yes, that's true.
That's why.
I will never forget that. Death was brutal. All right, so we're gonna get you out of here on this one, guys. When we get into the apartments in New York, we see some like classic film posters on their walls, and Dracula, and I think there was a Vertigo one. I mean, there was a lot of great posters. At that age, for each of you, what posters would have been on your apartment walls? Or I'm just curious, like what movies or music, or like, if I were to walk into one of your apartments at that age in your life, what did you guys have?
Scream. No joke. Yeah, it would have been Scream.
My walls were covered with punk rock flyers, like just local stuff. I take off things. And then I had in high school and college, I had an It's a Wonderful Life poster.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
With me, I had it everywhere. I loved it. Love that movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
what about for you?
Mine would have been probably Boogie Nights and Fargo. Those were the posters that sort of moved from dorm room to dorm room, apartment to apartment with me.
Yeah, the Fargo ones.
Remember we used to get them laminated? I used to have to get mine laminated when I was like see, there we go. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, posters are the greatest things ever, man.
Signed by everybody.
Oh, that's really
so cool. Yeah.
Do you have your own films posters in your places?
We have them. I don't have them up.
I'm not allowed to put them up right now because I just had a new baby. So my wife does it, like, she goes, why does everything have a skull on it? I'm like,
they're not kid friendly. The one that I have hanging up is there was a drive-in, a triple feature that Southbound, this indie thing that we made, was a part of. It was Duel,
Road Games,
and Southbound. Yeah. And this artist did this really cool kind of grindhouse style poster. That's the only one that I have.
Dope. Yeah.
Hanging out.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's a cool poster.
Hell yeah.
Oh, before they kick us out real fast too, I mean, the Samara's costume from Ready or Not being worked into the background of the subway. Is that something that you guys immediately knew you had to put her in someplace?
Yeah, Avery, costume designer on both, so it was really fun for her to make a replica of her own design.
And also just the mind fuckiness of, wait, there's a Ready or Not costume in the movie, and Samara's in this movie and not playing Grace from Ready or Not. Is this a weird shared universe? Like, it's just the fun of Scream. Like, it's a send up and a celebration of the genre as a whole, and it's just fun. Like,
it's almost like Drew Barrymore saying that her favorite horror film is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really funny, guys. We can't thank you enough for coming on. Obviously, we love having you guys on, and again, huge fans of the movies that you guys are making. Hopefully, we get time later on this week, and we can really dive into.
We have to ask that question.
What are the spoiler doc?
We have a bunch of things we want to dive into. So enjoy the rest of the day, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you. That was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much to our friends at Paramount Pictures, and also to the guys at Radio Silence for continuing to join the show and geek out about all things Scream with us. I guess I will say that we are efforting like we did last time. We got to get them back for a spoiler conversation. We're still trying to make that happen for them. And so pay attention to our social media channels, and we'll announce whether they'll be able to come back and dig deeper into Scream 6. As you guys heard in the interview, there's an answer that they really wanted to give us with regards to somebody's audio on a telephone, and couldn't tell that story just yet, but I promise that I will ask that first if and when we get them for the spoiler conversation.
And also shout out to Denzel Curry for having that awesome song in the film. I would love for people to see if they can take a look at it.
They really loved that you brought that up, actually.
I love that. I love that song.
Great. They got very excited for that. All right. So it's March, which of course makes a lot of sense that we should still be talking about the best films of 2022. Sunday is the 2023 Oscars, and leading into the ceremony on Sunday, we are going to be making our predictions for every category. Real fast before we get into this, because I know we're moving along. Jake, give me your excitement level for the Oscar telecast on a 1 to 10.
I gotta be honest with you. If you'd asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I would have given you a pretty low number. But in sitting down today and taking a look at some of the biggest categories, particularly a lot of the acting categories, and realizing how many of them come to a coin toss, maybe come up to maybe 3 potential nominees. It's a lot more. I mean, look, I think the top 2 prizes, I think picture and director, are done, but there are a lot of big categories and small categories that are not settled, that are down between 2 to 3 potential winners. And isn't that what you want? Like, we don't want to go into the Oscar race feeling like the entire thing's done. So I am a little bit more excited that things seem to have been shaken up.
I asked you for a number. I should ask you for a number. Just 1 to 10.
I haven't spoken on this show in like 6 weeks, man.
What's your number, for God's sakes?
Numbers, go fuck yourself. How about that? I don't know. I said a solid, like a solid 7. Solid 7.
Kev, where are you at? 1 through 10.
I'm at
for the telecast.
For the actual show, 7.5.
Ooh, you guys are higher than I am. I probably am at like a 5.
I've said this before. The Oscars are happening too late. It's too late, and these movies, we cover them over and over and over and over again. But to have the Oscars,
night.
No, I'm talking. Well, not even that, but just too late in the time period. We're already into 2023.
Is it because
films.
of the Oscars? The Academy feels like they have to go last.
But they've always gone last. Yeah, but why is it? Yeah, when was the Golden Globes?
The first week in January.
Right. Why couldn't?
And now we're into the second week of March.
All I want to do is watch the finale of Last of Us. That's all I want.
But like even some of the guilds went as early as like
I know what you're saying, like Independent Spirit Awards
were this past
WGA,
past week. Like, they feel like they have to go last, and it's like,
all right, well, let's rip through these categories, and we'll dwell a little bit deeper into the top half of them, but we definitely want to give our all due respect to every single category here on the show. And so we're going to start with visual effects. I will read the nominees, and then you guys will give me your picks. The nominees for visual effects at the Academy Awards this year: All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. Kevin, I'll start with you. Where are you going for visual effects?
Yeah, and I think one of the most one of the most incredible, I guess, miscommunications, I guess, about what visual effects is. People just assume that it's just CGI. I mean, visual effects means practical as well. I mean, any visual effect that's done in filmmaking, I think people think CGI when they hear that word, but it can be the practical visual effects, like a Stan Winston effect from like the old, practical effects, animatronics. I feel like, though, in this case, the CGI aspect of it, I will win out. I think, how do you not choose Avatar? But then I think All Quiet on the Western Front has been really pushing their videos out recently about why their visual effects and when their filmmaking was kind of incredible. But I'm going to go with Avatar: The Way of Water. It just feels like the safer choice.
Okay. I'm joining you with Avatar: The Way of Water because I also believe that visual effects are going to go in that direction. When you mentioned practicality, I almost thought Top Gun Maverick could potentially have a shot.
Yeah.
But I do think, like you said, and we've said at different points over the course of talking about Avatar, if the people who are voting will think like, oh, you just did what you kind of did the first time through. But I still think what he did in Way of Water was spectacular, and and then the box office success of it as well too, I think will lead a bunch of people to vote for it, at least in this category. So, and
you also moved along performance capture, like they changed performance capture to underwater and being able to do it there, so they did make groundbreaking achievements in filmmaking through that film. So I would imagine that would be a case to win, but we'll see.
Jakey?
I think this is going to be one of the easiest categories to lock in. I think it's Avatar. I think it's done.
Okay, there we go. Let's move on to costume design. The nominees for costumes are Babylon, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Jake, let's start with you this time. Costume.
I'm gonna go with Elvis, a movie that I think is going to be winning more Oscars on Sunday than some people might expect.
Interesting. I also went Elvis because I do feel that, especially like Ruth Carter has a great reputation, and she's doing Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, obviously. But I don't think she gets the edge in this category. I think Elvis gets it. Kev, where are you at? I'm
in between both, and Ruth Carter won for the first Black Panther, right? So, yeah, it's hard because there's so many costume changes in Elvis. Like there's so many periods of time they're dealing with and different decades of his life. And I got to go with Elvis as well. I mean, like I was leaning towards Ruth Carter because she did win already. And obviously the costumes are incredible. And I think she's actually from the area here in the DC area, or, has ties to the DC area. But I'm going to go with Elvis.
This is another category where Babylon feels like it should have gotten a lot more attention, unfortunately.
The Oscars in general is a category where Babylon should have gotten more attention.
Good Lord in heaven, that's so disappointing. I will never forget this. All right, makeup and hair. Let me get your nominees for makeup and hair. We have All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. First nomination for The Whale. I'll go first here. I'm picking Elvis, and I'm going to reference Kevin's interview with Baz Luhrmann. Baz mentioned that he had a hair team, and I think that hair team is going to earn him an Oscar. So Jake's right. So far, I have 2 wins for Elvis on the board. Mr. Hamilton, King of Hair.
I'm also going with I'm also going with Elvis, a movie that I think you got to think about it in terms of like the package and all the nominations that a movie has gotten. And oftentimes when you're split between 2 movies, always choose the one that also got the Best Picture nomination. And The Whale did not.
This is interesting. This is interesting because I feel like The Whale I would gear more towards because of the prosthetics, but then this is also not just makeup, this is hairstyling. And Sean brings up an interesting point about when I spoke to Baz Luhrmann in Memphis, we talked about the hair and continuity for Elvis, because the way it's sweating or the way it's moving, if they're cutting back and forth between different shots, the hair has to still be in the same place. And it sounds like he's been adamant about that for his whole career, and Elvis might be the one that he might actually finally get that credit for. I know that his name isn't listed for makeup and hairstyling, but for him to be a filmmaker who is adamant about that, I'm going to go ahead and go Elvis as well.
All right. And so far, 3 for 3. We're all
Eventually,
in the same
we're gonna have to disagree.
Well, yeah, without
It'd
a
be
doubt.
hilarious if we don't, though.
No, I've got some spicy picks later.
Oh, so do I.
Getting spicy.
Just wait. I'm getting real spicy later on.
Yeah, I love spicy, Kevin.
Here's a category that has potential to add a little spice to the conversation. This is original song.
Okay.
We have Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, music and lyric by Diane Warren. We have Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, music and lyrics by Lady Gaga and Blood Pop. Not sure who Blood Pop is, but congratulations on your nomination. Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, performed by Rihanna. Is that correct?
That's
Rihanna.
Are all of these people going to perform at the Oscars? Are we getting Rihanna and Lady Gaga?
4 out of 5 are confirmed.
Gaga's
Lady
not.
Gaga's not. And they're saying it could be because she's so busy shooting Joker 2 right now that she hasn't been able to make it to rehearsal. Which is a bummer because that's actually my favorite song of the nominees.
Okay. Natu from the film RRR, which I believe is the only nomination for that film. Also a bit of a crime. And This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Music by Ryan Lott, David Byrne, and Mitski. So, Kev, best original song.
RRR. That's my choice for that one. Yeah, because I first of all, that song is incredible. As much as I love Hold My Hand and Lift Me Up, first of all, RRR should have been nominated for picture, director, cinematography. I mean, it's insane how that didn't get other nominations. But it'll win this. Not
Couldn't even get international picture because its country didn't nominate it.
Yeah,
which is insane. It's crazy. Jake, where are you going for best original song?
Yeah, I think Natu is one of the biggest locks of the night.
All right. I also have Natu by RRR. So.
Sean scratches out Hold My Hand. He's like, oh yeah, me too. I also have Natu.
Gabe?
I can't confirm. I have Sean's list in front of me. I can't confirm.
What?
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, in the show notes, I already put my choices.
What if I talk you out of one?
Then I can change it in the thing. But I'm
going with
what I have inside there so far. All right, let's move on to production design. We have as our nominees All Quiet on the Western Front, which leads with a number of different nominees. Avatar, The Way of Water. Again, this is production design. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, The Way of Water. Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. First time we're mentioning Steven Spielberg's personal film. I will go first. I'm going to tell you with production design. I'm going Babylon. I feel like there's so much going on in an old Hollywood way that it's going to be difficult for the Academy, those who watched it, please God, I hope you went and watched it, to overlook the attention to detail that went into creating old Hollywood. I think the scenes, not just in the mansion for the initial party, but the scenes that take place on the film sets that Damien takes us to, and then if they got this far, the quote unquote asshole of Los Angeles alone should earn that movie its Oscar win. So I'm going to go out on a limb with Babylon. So, Jake, where are you at?
I'm also going with Babylon, a movie that maybe it didn't get the Oscar love we wanted it to, but I do think it's going to go home with more than one Oscar by the end of the night. And on the flip side of that, for a movie that got as underloved as it did, I think it could walk away happier than The Fabelmans might walk away when the night is done.
Kev?
I'm going to go with All Quiet on the Western Front.
All right.
Ooh, our first disagreement.
Our first disagreement.
Not so quiet.
All right, let's start with score. I missed it when we did song. We'll circle back around. All Quiet on the Western Front. Babylon. The Banshees of Inisherin. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Jake's boy John Williams. Receiving nomination number what is this?
53.
For The Fabelmans. 53 for The Fabelmans. Kev, you're a score guy. Where are you going?
Justin Hurwitz for Babylon. It's the best of those 5, in my personal opinion. I do want to shout out Carter Burwell, though, because he's one of my favorite composers. Obviously, works with the Coen brothers a lot. His Banshee score was brilliant. But I think Justin Hurwitz's score. Hurwitz should have won. I don't even think he was nominated for First Man. But that landing on the moon.
He won for First Man.
Someone double check on that? I could double check on that. Let me check.
I also want to shout out Carter Burwell, who is just phenomenal. I love Carter Burwell so much.
Am I wrong? I thought he wasn't nominated.
I could be wrong.
No, he was for Oscars. He did not get a nomination for First Man. He won for La La Land, for City of Stars, and the score, and then he was nominated for score for Babylon. Because him not getting nominated for First Man was, like, in my opinion, one of the worst decisions they had made, because that landing sequence is brilliant. So I think this Babylon win will be the redemption, even though it deserves it regardless. But it's that main theme in Babylon. I've seen Babylon 5 times. It's just
so good.
It is a perfect score, and it's unbelievable. And there's like a video out right now where they edited together the nominees for this year with his music on it. And it's incredible. So
yeah, like the actual promo for the Academy Awards uses the Babylon score.
Yeah.
Kevin uses this observation often, but in this case, I honestly have to agree that I think the score in Babylon is an additional character. I think whenever you hear it come up, it's like unbelievable. So I also went Babylon. Yeah. For original score. Jake, is this a place where you deviate with the rest of us?
No, I'm also going with Babylon. I've heard some rumblings of, not that a man with 5 Oscars and needs a career Oscar, but I have heard some rumblings of a last minute push for John Williams. I don't think it's going to be a strong enough push. I think it goes to Justin.
I really wish that I loved his Fabelman score, but
there's not that much. I mean, the problem is that there's just not that much music in the Fabelmans.
Right.
It's not that. I mean, I think he only wrote. I don't want to say only because I couldn't do a single minute. I think he only wrote like 30 minutes of music for the Fabelmans.
Right. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It didn't really stand out. So let's shift over to sound. We're still working our way through the production, the below the lines type categories.
I don't like that terminology, below the line. Just said it.
Below the line?
Yeah, it just makes it
sound. It's just an industry term, though.
I know. I'm not judging Sean for saying
it's not meant to be offensive.
I don't like that line in general, but because all the below the line people are the reason why the movie looks and sounds and is the way it is, But,
let's call them the shitty categories. How about that?
No,
I'm only joking.
The category is too hot for TV.
All Quiet on the Western Front. This is for sound. Avatar: The Way of Water. The Batman getting its first nomination. Elvis.
Batman we've already nominated. We've already read 3 times.
Batman?
Yeah.
Oh, did we really? Never mind. I take that back. The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun Maverick. Let me go first for sound. For the first time on my ballot, I'm going with All Quiet on the Western Front, which I think is going to start to pick up a couple of these wins in a few of these categories. Jake, where are you going?
I'm going Top Gun for what I think will be its one and only Oscar.
Ooh, interesting. Kev?
I'm also going All Quiet on the Western Front.
All right. This could be one of the categories that makes or breaks it. Editing. Now, editing, as we talk about all the time, usually has direct correlation
to picture,
to the film that is going to win Best Picture. So let's see how we feel about this. We have The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. Kev, where are you going?
Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that's a lock.
I also said Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I also feel that it is a lock. This is one of the categories where if that movie loses, I'm going to actually be mad. I'll be mad.
Well, the editing in that film is brilliant. And like one of the things, if you go back and listen to our interview with the Daniels, we had them on a couple months ago. It's really great because they dive into a lot of the technical aspects of the filmmaking, but the aspect ratio changes that are in that film and the editing back and forth and the different like ways they were playing with the multiverse and like going into widescreen versus the 185 and the 239. It's just unbelievable how it's all put together and when you shoot in a different aspect ratio.
Michelle Yeohs.
Yeah.
The number of different Michelle Yeohs and the continuity of putting all of them together in their worlds is unbelievable. So, Jake, you on the Everything Everywhere?
Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, it just picked up was the editing award over the weekend, so you can't argue with that.
All right, let's transition over to international feature film, where we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina 1985, Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl from Ireland. I went All Quiet here. because I kind of feel like it has Academy love. It received nominations in a number of different categories. I don't see it taking Best Picture, and so I feel like this is the film that they will give the award to in this category, as if to say, like, hey, you also got the Best Picture nomination, but this is the award that you're going to win. And I know that studio politics shouldn't dictate how something wins or loses, but that's the reality, and that's where I think this is going to fall. So, Jake, where are you at?
I think you nailed it 100%. I think this is sort of the consolation prize. This is their Best Picture. So I'm going All Quiet.
Kev?
Yeah, and Argentina won the Globe, right? So I think I'm right on that, and I could be wrong.
I think it did.
You're right.
Yes, I think it did.
All Quiet is the pick I'm picking here for the Oscars. Yeah.
All right. Sweep across the board. All right. Here's where we can get into some fun. This may start to win or lose a ballot. Documentary feature film. There doesn't feel to be one that stands out. One front runner necessarily, although you could make an argument for one of them, I guess. So let's see where the boys go. Documentary feature film is All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters, and Navalny. Kev, where are you going for documentary?
I mean, this is just a toss-up. Admittedly, I haven't seen any of these. Have you guys seen any of these?
No.
I've seen two of them.
You have seen two of them. Which one?
I did. I saw Fire of Love and I saw Navalny.
Okay. Do you guys have any insight as to how these have been doing in award season? I have not looked this up.
I've looked around.
See, I don't look.
Fire of Love has won a bunch of awards. It's pretty popular, and it's a great documentary. It's about a couple who back in the 70s, they were volcanologists. They would go to the site of live volcanoes and try to capture as much as possible, and then they die on one of the sites. And it's about someone putting together all their footage after their deaths.
Well, then after that description, I'm picking fantastic. Fire of Love. That sounds great. All right, Fire of Love. Just because it sounds like a great story.
Jake, where are you going?
I'm going Navalny. It seems to be the when reading up on the documentary features, it seems to be the one that I'm seeing pop up the most.
I too am going Navalny. Moving it.
So you guys are picking it because it's been picked in other predictions?
Yes. Primarily I'm relying on.
Okay.
I liked it as much as Fire of Love. I could see either of the two of them winning, but I've seen enough people say Navalny leading up to
see, I haven't seen those stories, so
Sean's coming for the win this year.
I'm going blindly here.
But also, I mean, keep in mind too, I follow the Oscar stuff deeply. Like I follow I love statistics and I love anomalies, particularly when it comes to the Oscars. So it's not a matter of I went and looked up stuff like before choosing. I follow this shit from Toronto all the way through. I listen to this stuff.
I'm just saying, like, that's the one that people are mostly predicting, is what I was asking.
I think
Jake,
so.
Jake, what's the Academy equivalent to the NFL Combine?
Oh, that's interesting because I actually was wondering if I was pulling like a Bill James Moneyball.
Okay, all right.
Wouldn't it be Sundance? Would Sundance be the Combine?
Sundance feels a little early.
Or can
I gotta be honest, I'm getting to a point where Toronto is starting to feel early. Like I'm starting to feel like if you come out of Toronto the front runner, like you're done.
TIFF was my where I was leaning.
Remember Fablemans?
Yeah. That was the one to beat.
So I guess it would if it ends up being Everything Everywhere All at Once, it would be South by, huh? Is the
interesting?
Right? Is that where that started?
There is no. Yeah. I guess there is no Combine. Basically,
I will say, but between Top Gun and Everything Everywhere All at Once, it is nice to be reminded that like successful films at the Oscars really don't have to come out in the last 3 months of the year. Yeah. I think that's why so many films that were poised to be big Oscar movies, something like a She Said, just kind of got lost in the shuffle because so many studios tried to shove them all, and then what ended up winning? Talking. The movie that Women Talking, and the movie that's going to win it all is the movie that came out in March.
Right. And Elvis was what?
Yeah, it's this summer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's a huge contender.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get to some of the spicier categories. This is where the ReelBlend guys get to have some fun. This is cinematography. We are going All Quiet on the Western Front by James Friend. Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths by Darius Kanji. Elvis by Mandy Walker. Empire of Light by this up-and-comer named Roger Deakins.
Never heard of him.
And Tar by Florian Hofmeister. Kev, cinematography is your bag. Take it away.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, did Mandy Walker just win the ASC, the cinematography award? Do I have that right? Okay.
Yes, you do.
It's funny, like prior to seeing that information over the weekend or whenever that happened, I would have chosen All Quiet on the Western Front. Deakins should not be in this category, not for that
Agreed.
film.
Agreed.
I think
Top Gun should be in this category.
Well, I think Hoytema should win this category. I can't believe he's not even nominated. The people still don't know that the night scenes in Nope were shot during the day. It's like one of the most incredible cinematography advances I've ever seen.
I could have told you that first time I saw it.
Well, I mean, you're not. Well, that sounds a little like big-headed, though. I mean, I don't think a lot of people would be able to pick up on that, to be honest.
No, I'm just kidding. That's my main criticism. Is it looks like it was shot during the day.
Oh, see, I disagree. I'm going to go with Mandy Walker for Elvis, just because she just won that award.
Write in Nope. Just write it in because you feel. Cause I know you're so into it. Write in Nope.
I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that that's not nominated is absolutely insane. I'm not saying it needs to win.
Imagine that's this year's controversy, and like Kevin has a heart attack. They're like, wait. What is this? So they open up the envelope. Nope wins. We don't understand.
Nope.
Yeah,
I mean, the fact
that that's not nominated is insane to me.
They hold the envelope up at the camera like they did when Moonlight won.
Exactly.
It says Nope ?
And Moonlight is actually crossed out.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, I have not read up on where this category seems to be leaning. I'm just primarily basing it off of what just happened with the awards this weekend. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe cinematographers vote on that award, and they also vote on this award. So that's my reasoning for Mandy Walker, even though I don't think out of these 5, I'd probably give it to Quiet or Tar. But Elvis
is All Quiet. Was All Quiet in the running in that?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me double check on that.
That's a British film. That's a very good point.
Yeah. All right. You guys, I mean, yeah, this is tough. But I'm going to go Mandy because she just won. Just feeling it.
Jake, where are you going on cinematography?
I'm also going to go Elvis because, like Kevin said, up until this past weekend, I think I would have said All Quiet, which still might be the safe choice to make. But statistically speaking, over the last 10 years, the winner of this past weekend, 66% of the time goes on to win the Academy Award. So I'm going to go with math and just say that I've got a 2 out of 3 shot, though I think you could make a really solid shot for All Quiet. So this might be a spicy pick. I'm going with math.
Call me safe, baby. Give me All Quiet.
That might be
potential.
That is safe.
That's the one that I feel like will win, but
I think that is good because All Quiet does not fall under the ASC.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to change All Quiet then.
We have one change.
Gabe, why? I had a chance.
This is your chance to make points now.
No, I think Quiet could win this.
Now it's Kevin's chance to make up some points.
I'm good. I'm just going to stay.
This could be your chance. If it ends up being Elvis, I'm going to kick myself.
Tonight, I could either finally catch up with All Quiet or watch Murder Mystery 2 in preparation for the junket tomorrow.
And guess what Sean's going to do?
I feel like those are 2 very different experiences.
I watched Murder Mystery 1 today.
It's cute.
So and I'll add this just because this is fun. Quiet. All Quiet won 2 awards. I think I'm counting at the BSC. 2. Maybe more. They have a lot of awards at the BSC, so it's going to be between those 2. I think for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like these next 2 are fairly easy, but let's go through them regardless. This is original screenplay. I'll read you the nominations. Come on, where are you? Oh, here we go. It's under writing, of course. That's where I would put it. The nominees for the original screenplay Oscar are Martin McDonagh, The Banshees of Inisherin, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Ostlund for The Triangle, or just Triangle of Sadness, not the. I am going Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I don't think it's close.
Jake, can I ask what won the WGA?
Everything Everywhere.
Everything
All
Everywhere.
Once.
For original?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jake, you're joining me?
I am. I do disagree with you about it not being close. I do think there is a lot of love for Banshees. And there's a lot of love for Martin's screenplay for Banshees. Unfortunately, I don't think it's I think this is going to be the Daniels night. I think that the night's going to end with, and we haven't seen a movie truly dominate, or like a person or truly dominate the Oscars, I feel like, in a while. It's been very spread out these past few years, but I think we're due for one of those pictures of the Daniels like hugging all of the Oscars that they're going to be holding at the end of the night.
That would make me so happy.
Yeah.
That would make me so happy.
I really hope someone brings the hot dog fingers, and it's them holding the Oscars like while wearing the hot dog finger hands.
With a butt plug also. 7 Oscars and a butt plug.
That goes without saying.
And go listen to our interview with the Daniels where we talk about farting, which is awesome.
I want those rocks.
Kev, original screenplay. Where are you going?
It's funny. I would have gone Banshees, but now that I know that they won WGA for original screenplay, and as we all know, correct me if I'm wrong, the Oscars are voted on individual categories. Writers vote for writers, cinematographers vote for cinematographers. Then everybody votes for the picture.
Picture.
I feel like I have to just again go with math, like Jake's saying. Banshees would have been before you told me that everything won DGA or WGA. I would have chosen Banshees, and I think Banshees is a better script personally. I think that the script for Banshees is better than Everything Everywhere All at Once, but. It's all good. I love Everything Everywhere All at Once. I just think Banshees is a better screenplay. Yeah.
All right. Adapted screenplay. We have All Quiet on the Western Front. We have Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. We have Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. Kev, I'll go to you.
Who won the WGA for this?
Sarah
Women
Polley.
Talking.
Women Talking. Sarah Polley. Then she won the WGA.
Jake?
Got to go WGA.
Sarah Polley, the star of Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Yep.
That is, all 3 of us are going after that one. So I also feel like that's a movie that a number of Academy members appreciate.
Right.
But I don't see it breaking into the other categories. And so I feel like this is
the one
where they will say, we're going to honor it in this category.
Right.
And it's a terrific script. It's terrific scripts and some really good performances as well, too.
I don't know this. Why is Glass Onion adapted?
Because it's adapted off of the original characters. Yeah. So it's
even as just a sequel?
Yeah, I think any sequel would technically be adapted, right?
That's so strange.
That is weird. I didn't realize that either.
That doesn't really seem like the spirit of what an adaptation
I agree with
is.
you. Glass Onion should be original, but from a technicality standpoint, it ends up in adapted because it's been adapted from original
characters
material built already. Yeah, which is weird because it's just one continuing character.
And it's the same writer.
So is Avatar: Way of Water adapted?
Yes.
It sounds like it.
Yes. But it didn't even get a nomination.
No, I know, but that would be
every
adapted.
Marvel movie until the end of time.
Oh, sure. Well, hold on. This makes sense then, because that's why Top Gun is adapted.
Yes,
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
correct. What's unfortunate is that no matter which category you put Glass Onion in, it was going to lose, even though I think it's a brilliant screenplay. But they are the two.
Not as good as the first.
But still great.
Agreed.
I mean,
still great. Yeah, still great.
Interesting. Animation. We have some great nominees in this category, starting with Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Please go to the episode where we interview Guillermo. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Terrific film that made my top 10. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, which is incredibly popular, by the way, if you pay attention to social media.
It was a great movie.
That film has crazy supporters.
People love that movie.
The Sea Beast, which I'd never even heard of, and a film called Turning Red. I am going to go with Del Toro's Pinocchio, which I think is a masterpiece. But I'm really worried about Puss in Boots. I'm legitimately worried about Puss in Boots. Jake, where are you going?
I think it's easily Pinocchio, and which makes me. I mean, I keep thinking about how the fact that Pinocchio is going to win, but I also kind of keep forgetting that like Guillermo del Toro is about to get another Oscar, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Well deserved too.
Yeah. And Puss in Boots is the one that does creep up and make me worry about my Pinocchio pick as well. But it's funny as I'm on the Oscars.org website, and I'm reading along the nominations as you're reading them. It's just I like their font, this like whatever this yellow brown font they're using. I'm gonna go with Pinocchio.
See, I think Puss in Boots is popular amongst mainstream crowds, but I don't know if the Academy members are like some might be into it, but I don't think you can.
I for some reason, unless it's like a Toy Story movie, I really don't see the Academy voting for a sequel to a spinoff.
I was going to say, would the Academy vote for a sequel over an original Pixar?
Yeah, but yet another adaptation of Pinocchio. Although I think it's fantastic and takes a different spin on it. It's like Pinocchio again.
And listen, as Sean said, listen to our interview with Del Toro. It's really fun.
He's terrific.
We covered a lot of ground in that one.
He still loves Pacific Rim a lot.
Hell yeah.
A lot. He loves
the boat slap deserved an Oscar. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. Actress in a supporting role. You get a little spicy.
All
we have
right.
Angela Bassett nominated for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We have Hong Chow nominated for The Whale and not The Menu. So remember, she's nominated for The Whale. Kerry Condon nominated for The Banshees of Inisherin. Jamie Lee Curtis receiving her very first Oscar nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Stephanie Hsu also receiving a nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Kevin, where are you going?
This is a tough one. So this is where it starts getting interesting, because
these are the categories that will determine a winner, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you're gonna think logically here, Jamie Lee Curtis just won the SAG, which is the acting body that votes on the same award for the Oscars. But then you can make an argument that they gave it to Jamie Lee Curtis there so they could give it to Angela Bassett at the Oscars. I mean, this right now, Angela Bassett to me has always been the deserving of the 5, and no question, just because the minute I saw that scene, Have I Not Given Everything, and hearing the thought process that went into that before the delivery of that monologue, it's just so powerful and in my opinion elevates the film in such an interesting way. But with Jamie Lee winning the SAG award it really does create a bit of a riff here. I'm going to go with Angela Bassett because that's what my gut's been telling me since the day I saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I remember sitting next to Sean and watching that monologue, and even the UN scene in the beginning. She's just a powerhouse of performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because both Bassett and Curtis have never won an Oscar. I'm right about that, right? Neither of them have won an Oscar, which is another interesting part of this situation, because, if one had already won, you could make the argument that somebody would give the other person the Oscar because they don't have one already. Angela Bassett I'm just going to go with my gut. I mean, even though the math theoretically from Jamie's win at the SAG Awards would tell me I'm wrong, but Bassett for sure, in my opinion.
Jakey?
I'm going with Kerry Condon. And do we have time to get into my reasoning behind that?
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah, she won the BAFTA.
So, she won the BAFTA. I when it comes to Angela Bassett, my concern is I feel like she's cooled down a lot over these past few weeks. I feel like the narrative of her career Oscar has significantly cooled down. And the awards that she won at the beginning of this award season that maybe looked like we were heading in that direction with her weren't any awards that had any crossover in voters. None of the awards that she won have any crossover for people who vote for the Oscars. Now, so then that leaves Kerry Condon, who won the BAFTA.
You mean like Golden Globe and
Golden Globes and Critics' Choice,
like
correct.
That.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so that leaves Kerry Condon, who won BAFTA, and Jamie Lee Curtis, who won SAG. BAFTA tends to get a little bit more of the edge over predictions over SAG, and also you have to worry about Stephanie Hsu potentially stealing some votes from Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't think it's going to be as much of a split, but I think Stephanie Hsu also being nominated hurts Jamie Lee Curtis a little bit. So I think the math leaves Kerry Condon as a potentially safe choice.
What are people predicting for that category?
I think people are predicting Angela Bassett or Jamie Lee Curtis. I think this is my spicy pick.
Yeah,
I've seen people predict Stephanie Hsu. The only person I've seen not be predicted is Hong Chow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. I've seen people say Stephanie Hsu is going to come out of nowhere and win, which I don't think is going to happen.
Carrie Condon, the scene with Barry Keoghan when he tells
which
her
has been going viral.
Like that's the scene. Yeah. I could see her winning for that.
And all over LA, they must have noticed that clip was going viral because all over LA, that's the image that they're using in the For Your Consideration ad billboards.
Yeah. It's a brilliant scene.
Well, I am also throwing Carrie Condon into my category.
Oh, nice. I thought that was going to be the spicy one there.
Listen, I knew that was a spicy pick, but only because there are a couple of analysts that I've listened to on Twitter who are pretty much in the know. And the last couple of days, they've been saying Carrie Condon. And one of the reasons why I also think as well, too, is because it's starting to look pretty clear that the other actors in the cast are not going to get wins. And I think the voters will want Banshees to get something. So I think you may see some groundswell of support saying this is our chance to reward that movie and the ensemble. But
is this the first award of the night?
Well, I don't think they've. I feel like the first award of the night is one of the supporting, but I feel like the supporting that they most know is going to win. So I bet first award of the night is going to go to Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah,
you bring up an interesting point. Should the Oscars add an ensemble category?
I mean, can I argue no? Because I feel I'm
asking you.
I say no because then, how does that what everyone gets an Oscar, and then I feel like the value of the Oscar is diminished.
Well, give it to the casting director or casting. I do think there should be, because there's a casting category at the BAFTAs, but I don't think there should be like a cast ensemble, because at that point, if they chose Banshees, then all of a sudden Colin Farrell, Brandon, then all of a sudden they all become Oscar winners all at one time. And it feels a little like
interesting.
I think there's a way you could make it a best picturification of the acting talent, because it just feels like we have this argument a lot.
Well, then I would say then put in then add a casting category.
I like that as like the category what you call it. But essentially what you're saying is this entire cast is great and we can only give one of them an award, but all of them.
I don't want to see this before I see stunts.
Sure.
I mean,
why do you hate Tom Cruise?
Just add them both. Who cares? What is this?
I love Tom Cruise. That's why I want him to get a category. I think this category is long overdue. I think next year Donnie Yen should be getting it. That's where he gets his award.
Donnie Yen deserves an acting Oscar for his work in John Wick 4. It is. I
understand what you're saying.
A brilliant performance.
We'll talk John Wick 4 later this month. Would you be upset if they added a stunt Oscar? Tom Cruise won it and then he never got an acting Oscar after that?
What if they added a stunt and Cruise never won it before he stopped making?
He stops doing his own stunts right when they introduce it.
Hey, Cruise enjoyed a long line of brilliant people who never won Oscars, so that'd be totally fine.
Very fair. Yeah. Supporting actor, does anybody not have Ke Huy Quan?
No.
All right, chalking it across the board. Lead actress. Let me read the nominees. Hold on.
Which added well-deserved Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah, and dude, just for 2 seconds, like his performance is incredible. And if you listen to our interview with the Daniels, they shot that fanny pack fight scene in 1 day or 1.5 days, and like I was just looking back on some of the clips of him. You know, it's interesting when you watch a film before it gets Oscar buzz, there's a different feeling you have. And then when you watch it after all the Oscar buzz is happening, you think to yourself, oh, this is the Oscar performance. But I remember watching that performance before any talk about that and talking to him before any talk about that. And it always felt special. And I'm just very excited for him. And I think it's going to be a great speech. So
I think one of the greatest lines in any movie last year was, "In another world, I would have loved to do laundry and taxes with you."
Right.
Oh my God. I love that line so much.
And also, like,
incredible.
One thing I will say about him, when I interviewed him early on, like when the film first came out, and the way he spoke in my interview before any type of Oscar nomination buzz or any Oscar information is the way he's still talking now. So it just reminds me of how genuine he's being in all of these speeches. This is how he's felt since the beginning of this press tour of this movie before anything happened with the Oscars.
All right. Actress in a leading role. Cate Blanchett for Tar. Ana de Armas for Blonde. the controversial Andrea Riseborough getting in for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Kev, how you feeling?
Well, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. She won the SAG Award. I know she won the Globe in the musical comedy category, and I know that Cate Blanchett won the drama. She also won the Critics' Choice. But I'm going to use the SAG angle here, and I just feel like just feels like people really want her to win, and she deserves it. It's honestly one of the most incredible performances I've seen. If you think about the weight of it and how many different versions of herself she was playing, and just the insanity of that film in terms of like what it does with your mind, and kind of how she kind of had to keep it together, but also understand that the filmmakers were going to keep it together at the same time. So I got to go to Michelle Yeoh. No question. I mean, listen, it's her versus Cate Blanchett. Those are the two. Sure. That and Cate Blanchett already has 2 or 3 Oscars. I can't remember how many she has. Jake,
2.
How many Oscars does Cate?
She has 2 for Blue Jasmine and The Aviator.
And The Aviator. Okay, so she has 1 lead and 1 supporting.
Correct.
Okay. Michelle Yeoh is my choice, but could be either.
I'm also going Michelle Yeoh, and I also feel like that it's between her and Cate Blanchett. I also feel like there's only so many times that we can recognize how amazing Cate Blanchett is. Michelle Yeoh might not get as many bites as the apple as Cate Blanchett will probably continue to get. And I mean, she deserves as many shots as Cate Blanchett gets. I'm not quite sure she's going to get a project like this with the momentum behind it that will carry her to an Oscar win. And I want to live in a world where Michelle Yeoh has a Best Actress Oscar. Jake.
I'm also going Michelle Yeoh. I think that SAG win was so great because I think it showed people how good it felt to see her up on stage holding a trophy. Until that point, we really hadn't seen it. And then once we did see it, I think everyone collectively went, oh God, we got that can't be the only time we see that. So I really do think not just because the voting body carries over, but just the image of we have to give her this moment. Like, she deserves this moment. The performance deserves that moment. But like, my God, like we have to see her on stage holding an Oscar. We just must.
Okay, then this is going to get really interesting. Yep. Because if you're talking about effective acceptance speeches, we're going into Best Actor in a leading role. You have Austin Butler for Elvis. You have Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin. You have Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living. I am going Austin Butler, but I understand along the lines of what Jake is saying that a lot of people, myself included, would like to see Brendan Fraser up there getting a win based on some of the great speeches that he's given over the course of this run. I said when I saw it, if Brendan Fraser doesn't win an Oscar in this category, then the entire system is broken. Because I think it was one of the single best performances I saw in any film last year. However, it feels like momentum has shifted to Austin Butler and Elvis, and so at this stage, I'm willing to bet that Butler wins it for Elvis. Kev.
Yeah, this is hard. I mean, right now, I have those 2 clearly. You could make an argument that the votes could split and Colin Farrell could win. People loved Colin Farrell's speech at the Globes.
Very possible.
Is that the one where he turned around and told Ana de Armas how great her performance was in Blonde? Was that the same speech I'm thinking about? I could be wrong.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
wait,
right
who
now,
won SAG? Did Austin won SAG?
Brendan Fraser won SAG.
Mm-hmm. Brendan won SAG. Interesting.
And then did Butler win the BAFTA?
Yes,
Butler won the BAFTA,
yes, he did.
and Butler won the Globe. I do think momentum feels like it does feel like Austin Butler, but I'm going to go with Brendan Fraser. I think the story, the comeback, the performance is, in my opinion, it is a better performance. Just if I'm actually breaking them down and choosing one, I think Brendan Fraser's performance is better. Butler is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But with Brendan winning the SAG award and this idea of his story is just really amazing. And I don't know how much that factors into the voting process, but I'm going to go Brendan Fraser, even though part of me wants to go with Austin Butler. That is part of my gut feeling. But Brendan Fraser for now.
Jake?
I'm going Austin Butler. Unfortunately, I feel like the concept of the narrative, even though we talk about it, we literally just talked about it for Michelle Yeoh. I don't think it's as strong as we think it is. It didn't work for Mickey Rourke. It unfortunately didn't work for Chadwick Boseman. And this is so much. This is just such a coin flip between Fraser and Butler. But in my eyes, when it comes down to a coin flip, you always give the edge to the movie with the Best Picture nomination. And The Whale was not nominated for Best Picture, and Elvis was. So I'm going Austin Butler.
What is being predicted for that category?
It seems like it's a coin flip with, I think, Variety. Was it Variety that came out and said that they think Colin Farrell is going to pull off the biggest upset since Adrian Brody?
Wow.
I mean, I'm telling you, Farrell could have that split vote. That's what I was trying to say. Like, I feel like, yeah. I mean, listen,
they're gonna push that one to. I wouldn't be surprised if they handed out director before they hand out actor.
Yeah.
Well, that backfired on them last time they tried to do that. So maybe they want to rethink that. Let's get to directing then. The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh. Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Daniels. Steven Spielberg, The Fabelmans. Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. I am going with The Daniels. I feel like they won DGA. I feel like this is going to be, they are going to do the 1-2 punch of director and picture. And I don't see any of the other nominees being strong enough to defeat them. Jake, where are you?
Daniels all the way. I think the rest of this conversation is, locked for us. Okay. I think, and I'm very happy to see them up there.
Kev, you want to make a left turn anywhere?
Daniels.
Okay. All right, let's bring it a picture. Here are your nominees officially. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. I guess we all think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win.
We do.
Chalk it up. There you go. There's our official run through all of the categories. Let's catch our breath and throw it to a quick break, and we will see you guys on the other side. And we are back. Okay, so 2 major movies that are hitting theaters this week, and we've discussed each of them leading into the end of this episode, primarily because of interviews that we have on the show. And the first one is 65, which, as we mentioned, is directed by Becken Woods. Plug the Wednesday interview. You guys make sure you go check that out. Those guys are really informative. It's spoiler free, but I think you'll appreciate the interview a little bit more if you go check out 65 beforehand and then go back and listen to their process to figure out how they got certain things. Gabe and I were talking about this when I was recording the intro for 65, and I think I nailed exactly how I feel about it, which is if you have a movie where an astronaut crashes his ship on our planet and learns over the course of it that it's the prehistoric era and the dinosaurs are on the planet, your casting determines your tone. And what I was saying to Gabe is that if you put Ryan Reynolds in this movie, it's a lot more comedic. It's a lot more, him getting chased around by dinosaurs, and it's quippy and it probably moves a little bit more. But when you cast Adam Driver, you get a more serious approach to it. You get a more tortured lead. He has a young girl who has also survived the crash, who he has to take care of. He is willing to sacrifice almost anything to get her to this ship that's going to get him off the planet. And so I hear so many people going into this premise and they're like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And I just want to caution that it's not quite fun. I still liked it a lot. I thought it was really enjoyable for what it was, but I do want to caution people that it's not a cheesy romp, of space guy lands and all of a sudden it's dinosaurs. It's very much a harrowing and physically tough shoot for these actors, and I thought it was really, really compelling. So I highly recommend it, but I just want everybody to know what they're getting into when they go. Jake, where are you at with it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it, had a good time with it. I appreciated the quick, tight 90-minute runtime. You're absolutely right. It's not quite, the cinematic version of Turok, if you know the video game from back in the day. But imagine Turok meets The Last of Us. If you could sort of blend those two together, I thought it was perfectly. I've been using the word fun because it's Adam Driver with a gun and dinosaurs, so there is definitely a fun element to it. But there's also some very heavy themes and plot points sprinkled in throughout that almost announce to the audience, like, look, like, yes, we know what kind of movie we are, but we dare to be a little bit better than that. And I applaud them for that. I enjoyed it. I walked out going, oh, that was fun. That was good. I'm in. Sold.
Kev, 65?
Fun. Yeah. I mean, I thought, again, it was just, I didn't love it. I thought it was decent. It felt like, the way I explained it was, it felt like an N64 game that I would have picked up for 2 or 3 days and then not played again. It would have been fun to play. I would have enjoyed it. Yeah. But I don't think that it emotionally would have connected with me. Yeah, I mean, I thought Driver was great, but then, and then again, I saw it, and not that I forgot about it, but it just hasn't stuck with me. So as much as I think, seeing a film like this in the theaters would be beneficial, I also, don't know if it's worth paying full ticket price for, but it's fun. Yeah, I enjoyed aspects of it.
I want a quick go around the horn. What do you think it makes this weekend, Kev?
15 million, maybe
15,
less.
Knowing that Creed is still going strong and Scream is opening,
probably 12 or less.
Okay, Jake.
Yeah, I think it's going to get buried. Unfortunately, I feel like not enough people know that it's even coming out. It seems like, we're still riding the wave that is Creed 3, and then you've got Scream 6 opening this weekend. Unfortunately, I just feel like this is just one of those movies that's going to get lost in the shuffle. I also feel like it's going to be one of those movies. You ever look on Netflix and you look at the top 10 and the number one movie is like a random ass movie that came out 15 years ago that people are just now discovering? Like just recently I saw that Sean Levy's This Is Where I Leave You was the number one movie on Netflix, a movie that did, and even he tweeted something out like, took 15 years, but you guys are finally watching this movie. 65 kind of feels like one of those movies that in 15 years is going to be the number one movie on Netflix because people are going to be just now discovering it.
Right. Once again, I asked you for a number and you didn't give it to me. Didn't give it to me at all.
For the guy who kept doing math during the Oscars predictions.
All I know is I didn't get a rap from Gabe. Gabe's face is what I stare at whenever I go on my rants.
I like this new bit. This is a good bit. I ask you for a number. You give me a long diatribe. So number?
I'm sorry. What's the question?
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna go 10. I'm gonna go 10. I'm gonna go 7 to 9. I'm gonna put it to 7 to 9. I think. I think.
Ironically,
I think the audience that would go see it is gonna go to Scream.
I'm excited to see it. But I also have already seen Scream, so maybe I don't qualify for that audience that you're.
Gotcha.
I'm excited for this movie.
Let's shift over to Scream 6, and we will keep this spoiler free. So if you're listening to this and you haven't yet gone to go see it, and believe me, as we know with the Scream films, there's a lot of twists and turns and spoilers, and the people who haven't watched it yet don't want to know anything going into it. I'll go first because I think I liked it the most out of the three of us. But I will admit that it's nowhere near as vital as the most recent Scream, the one that kind of reintroduced the franchise, reconnected it to Woodsboro, honored Wes Craven, by making a film that fit really well into the franchise. To me, it felt a little bit like Radio Silence trying to make the franchise their own, which I guess they have the right to do that now if they're going to be taking it forward. And I do feel like they're going to continue to make a couple of these, that they're not quite beholden to what would Wes Craven have done or how should the franchise be going forward, because this film does take a couple of swings that I didn't anticipate. Kevin's going to get to a point later on where he's going to talk about stakes, and he's right. There are certain aspects where I think they could have gone pretty far. Maybe they don't, but I did leave this film really liking. This is where I think it separates itself from Scream of last year. I care a lot more about the core four characters than I did coming out of the other one. Coming out of the other one, it was still very much about, hey, we lost Dewey. Where is Sydney? Where is Gail? That was still very much their franchise. I now feel like the Scream franchise belongs to the characters played by Jenna Ortega, played by Melissa Barrera, Jasmine Savoy Brown, and Mason Gooding.
Gooding.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Gooding? Yeah, gotcha.
Cuba-san.
And I want to see, is that really Cuba
Yeah, it's
Gooding
Cuba Gooding
Jr.'s son?
Jr.'s son.
No kidding. I didn't even know that at all, but now it looks exactly like him. That makes a lot of sense. I'm very much invested in that. I thought Ghostface in this movie was brutal. More brutal than I thought he was in 5. I think the guys might disagree with that. And yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it. Having seen it, I'm not quite sure that they should have put it out as quickly as they did after 5. It does feel like they rushed it into theaters because of the popularity of 5, and maybe if they had a little bit more time to sort of workshop the script and cook it, make it a little bit more interesting. Not interesting, but like, well, you'll hear about it when the other boys talk about it, because I do agree with some of the things that they're going to say. But overall, I did like it, and I would highly recommend it if you are a Scream fan. I think they have some great Ghostface scenes. And again, like I said, I'm into the core 4. I really like them as characters. Jake, you are a Scream dude.
Yeah.
And you kind of came out of it feeling fine. But.
Yeah, and it's trending worse, unfortunately. I'm a massive Scream fan. It's one of my favorite franchises. I love the horror genre. I've got a signed Screamed poster on my wall. This is near the bottom of my Scream ranking. This and 4. One of the things I love about this franchise is that unlike a Nightmare or a Halloween or a Friday, it all feels interconnected. It feels like one big giant story. They don't feel like these individual sort of generic different ones. This one starts to feel like, okay, maybe we're just gonna, maybe we're too long in the tooth, and we're gonna start getting generic Scream movies now. I have a lot of issues with it. The killer reveal and motive. Yes, it is. The killer reveal and motive, I think, is the weakest and the lamest. I think when moving forward, when you see killer rankings, these are my favorite killers from top to bottom. The Scream 6 reveal is going to be at the very bottom for a lot of people, I think. I don't, for a movie that is capitalizing so much on the city of New York, I don't feel like they utilized it enough. It felt like it could have just been in any major, it could have been in a fake city outside of Woodsboro, and you never would have noticed. It did not capitalize on New York the way that I really wanted to. My God, even Jason walked through Times Square in a movie that he was on a boat for an hour and a half. So like even that gave us like a definitive New York moment. I walked out of 5 with such a surge and hope for the direction that this series was going to go. And walking out of 6, I'm good if we take a couple of years off, which I doubt we're going to. We're probably going to get 7 next year. I don't particularly care about the new characters. I felt the absence of Sydney was felt. And this is a movie that the more I think about, look, there are some truly creative moments where I pointed to the screen and went like, okay, awesome. Well done. Like you knew what I was going to think, and therefore you did the opposite. There's one shot in particular that is probably one of my favorite shots in the entire Scream franchise. But aside from a couple of moments of expectation subverting brilliance, for the most part, I found the film to be a fairly massive disappointment. For me.
I want to add, because I don't really disagree with a lot of what you're saying there, and I do agree about the sort of reveal and such is where it ranks. To your point about some awesome moments, do you agree that as far as a Scream movie needs to have a really great opening that catches you? I loved this opening. I won't go any more detail than that. Did it work for you in that sense, or were you just like, it's just okay?
Here's my problem is I think because
to find a unique opening in the Scream franchise, I think is really cool.
But I think the problem was that like I went into the opening thinking they're going to have to do something weird because they know that we're. I mean, I remember just being in awe, and Gabe, cut this if you need to, in awe that the opening kill for 5 survived. Like when I saw Jenna Ortega in the opening of 5, I thought, well, she's done. And when she survived, I remember pausing and going, wait, can we do that? Like, can the opening kill survive? So this didn't quite have that. And I think my problem was because they've already shown that they can break the rules in an opening. I went into this opening thinking, interesting. How are you going to break the rules? And when it happened, I sort of went like, okay, that's how you did it. So it didn't get me the way 5 did. I mean, unfortunately, this film, I think, is a victim of the previous film's success. Because you've shown me that you're willing to break the mold, you can't put it back together and break it again and expect me to be surprised.
You guys are harsh. Kev, Where'd you fall?
Yeah. I mean, for the fifth Scream was my favorite since the original. I thought that film, like I felt the same way in Scream 5 that I did in 1996, I think was the year the first one came out, sitting in that theater and watching that Scream for the first time. I'd never seen a horror film do something like that. And so for Scream 5, then to honor Wes Craven and kind of repeat that feeling for me, it was a big deal. So going into 6, I had high expectations. These filmmakers did a phenomenal job. They understand the material really well. One of the things that 5 did was it stretched the meta concept of Scream into modern times, right? So it was like, how do you play with modern technology and deal with modern things that could be interesting? I know we saw that in Scream 4 a bit, but Scream 5 did it to me in a very brilliant way. I know it's called Scream. I'm just referring to it as 5 because it's just easier to say it that way.
Best way to go.
Otherwise, it's confusing. Yeah,
it is. But in all honesty, like that's why I loved 5 so much. 6, while I love the opening of 5 is way better. But I thought the opening of 6 was interesting. They do play around with the ways of that you've never seen before in an opening. And I actually really did like the opening of 6. I thought it was probably my favorite scene in the whole film. That being said, when they start getting into monologues about the meta aspect of these franchises and kind of what they dealt with in the first one with the requel thing, I bought into it. Here, it starts to feel like a parody. It feels like it's almost like a scary movie version of Scream. And I'm not saying it's on that level of scary movie where like it's like just incredibly funny over the top. It just felt like it was parodying itself in a way where it took it too far, where I felt like it was commenting too much on itself rather than being important for the narrative. The monologue didn't feel as special as it did in the original, in the 5th one. Also, the stakes to me are really a big problem here. I can't tell you why until we get into a spoiler discussion about this movie. But there are scenes where things happen to characters and you would assume one way or the other something happened to that person. And it just felt cheap that things didn't turn out the way they did based on the material we watched on screen. I feel like these films need stakes. And the 5th one really did have stakes. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the 5th one, turn this off. But David Arquette's death was brilliant. It was a perfect legacy death. They did a great job killing that character off and in a way that honored the franchise. It was sad, but also just brilliantly took care of business in that sense and kind of showed. Also, one of the things about the 5th film versus the 6th film, the kills in the 5th one, and I feel weird saying the kills are better, but the kills in the 5th one felt scarier. They felt more brutal. They felt more insane. They felt meaner. I was like shocked. This one, I think I counted it. There were like 3 kills in the first hour, and none of them shocked me. None of them.
Like, look at the interesting places where we can put the knife.
Right, and also the other part about it with the New York setting, they didn't shoot this in New York. And that's the thing I was most excited about was Manhattan, because I growing up weirdly, I liked Jason Takes Manhattan. It was just a movie I saw at a pivotal point in my life. I remember liking it, even though I know he's on a boat for the majority of the time. I just wanted more. I forgot the movie was in New York for the whole film. I mean, there were moments where they show skylines. And I get the bodega scene is but that could be in any bodega in any city that someone would have a gun, a shotgun, and so. Nothing in that film, even the subway sequence, which is in the trailer, didn't scream New York to me whatsoever.
I thought that was a great sequence, though.
Great scene, and one of the things we talk about, the way they
constructed that, and I won't get into details just because it is right. the way they get into that scene, editing, something happens. Yeah. But the way that they put themselves in that scene so that the situation was a little more tense,
100%,
and then they built on that, I thought was really brilliant.
And that's one of the things I talked about in the interview with them for our ReelBlend. If you made it this far, you probably already heard it, which is about the blocking and the cameras and the lenses and the editing leading up to either a kill or some type of like murderous or violent sequence. And the brilliance of the subway scene, which is in the trailers, so is not a spoiler, is the way it's cut together, the way people are blocking, the way that people are in the frame, what you're seeing, what you're not seeing. It's very, very well done. And at the end of the day, like, I know I've said a lot of maybe negative things about the film that didn't work for me, but I still had fun with it. I mean, it still entertained me. I was still interested in it. Do I care about the core four as much as I cared about the leading legacy characters in the original? No, I don't. But I do love Jenna Ortega. I love Melissa Barrera. She thinks she's phenomenal in the film. But again, there is just the stakes to me as a problem. The fifth one felt like it had actual legit stakes that I was worried about. This one, I just kind of was like, at the end of it, I was just like, what? Okay. So I don't know. So we'll keep it at that for now. I would recommend, if you are a Scream fan, I mean,
well, give me a star rating for this.
Oh, where are you guys at?
3.5. Out of 5. 3.5 out of 5.
I want to say 3, but that feels generous.
3 feels generous for me too, but
you're nuts.
I'm probably at 3. 3's, I think 3's solid.
It's weird because I want to give it C. I want to give it 2.5, but that equates to a 5 out of 10, and I don't feel like it's worthy of a 5 out of 10. But
it's a 3 out of 5.
2.5 feels right to me.
There's really strong sequences in this movie.
Oh,
you're
dude,
maybe they didn't reach your guys' expectations. Maybe your expectations were heightened going into it, but you're overlooking the fact that there's some strong sequences in this.
But I think you're overlooking the fact that there are a lot of very lagging moments.
There are, and 5 was so great.
But I can't compare it to 5. I want it just to be. I'm judging it on its own.
You have to.
You can't not compare it to 5. It's a continuation of the characters and the storyline.
But I'm judging this on its own movie.
Right, I know, but we're also that's like saying, why am I going to go see when you see Dr. Sleep? Are you not comparing it to The Shining? Of course you are. You're going to be thinking about the legacy of that. I'm not saying Dr. Sleep doesn't. Well, yeah, of course you are, dude. The ultimate question that thing that you walked out of Dr. Sleep, at least for me, was how did it compare to what The Shining did, and like kind of how did Mike Flanagan continue that legacy? And I thought he made a film that was on the same level as The Shining. And that's kind of what we all talked about was The Shining.
I absolutely compared it. I compared it to the book before I compared it to Kubrick's Shining, because I think Kubrick's Shining is its own thing.
Yeah, but you're still coming off of there's no way to watch Dr. Sleep and not think of The Shining. There's no way to watch Scream 6 and not think of Scream 5. It's just not possible. It's not possible at all, because Arquette's death from 5 lingers on into 6. Gail Weathers' character lingers on into 6.
I still think
the trauma of 5. Dude, 6 doesn't exist without 5.
Well, no,
I don't think that's Sean's point.
The case with any franchise.
Sean's point is talking about the movie in and of itself. Those are two different things.
But I don't think it's possible to look at Scream 6 on its own. It's not. It's just not. From a plot perspective, no. You need the plot. It requires 5.
It requires all of them as far as the plot is concerned. But he's talking about his opinion on the quality of the film itself. Those are two different things.
But he's arguing that you can look at 6 without thinking about 5.
And he's saying he does, though.
I don't think that's possible.
I do,
but he's saying he does. That's my point.
And I'm arguing I don't think it's possible.
But that's
because
fine.
There's no way that
we can disagree on that.
That's fine.
But that's okay. It's okay for us to have a disagreement on that.
It's totally fine.
You can say it's not possible, and I can tell you that I'm actually doing it. So okay, that makes it possible.
Okay, but I would argue you're wrong. But that's okay.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's possible.
As you guys can tell, as you guys can tell, we had a very lengthy Oscar conversation. And then, of course, our Scream conversation bled over. So we are going to scrap the blend game this week. We really wanted to give you guys, more time, dedicate more time to those topics. So thank you, everybody who sent in your favorite Scream moments. And we want you guys to play along next week when we dive into hashtag Helen Mirren blend. Ooh. Good luck, my friends. Choosing Helen Mirren. And I will tell you a very fun story about why she is top of mind for me lately. I'll save that till next week. Helen Mirren has been very, not because of Caligula, but I've been watching a specific Helen Mirren movie for a very long time. The past week.
I know what
and a half or so. You can guess. You can guess off air if you'd want to.
Is it the color of the? Is it the color of the balloon? The balloon from It. The color of the balloon from It.
Yes, I'm immersed in red currently at this point. So that's not my pick. Go to hashtag Helen Mirren blend on social media or email us at ReelBlend@cinemablend.com. This is the point where we would read a review. If any of you guys wanted to read us a review, instead we will go to our next premium episode, which drops on Monday. Check the description below for more information on how to sign up for that. And in the meantime, follow us on social media. This is the point where I read our social media handles, starting with @JakesTakes, @KevinMcCarthyTV, @Sean_O'Connell, @Gabe Kovac. And the show is @ReelBlend. We'll talk to you guys next week when hopefully we will have some more spoiler-filled Scream talk. And then Shazam opens. So that'll be kind of fun too. Talk to you guys next week.
What a week.
Pop Oppenheimer.
What a month.
Barbie.